The 2021 NRL season is right around the corner, and the opening round is always highly anticipated and entertaining itself. A new season brings new players, new signings, and new hope as all 16 teams start on 0 points, with every fan hoping their team can start their season on the front foot. We have seen some classic round 1 encounters in the NRL era, and what better time to look back at those matches and reflect on the big moments, exciting finishes, and quality rugby league, as this is greatest game of all, and this is our ranking of the 15 best round 1 matches. Number 15, the Knights versus the Sea Eagles in 2018. After getting the wooden spoon the previous 2 seasons, the Knights were looking to make an impact in 2018 after their star signings of Mitchell Pearce and Kalen Ponga. It didn't take long for the two to step up and produce a try in the opening 5 minutes to get the Knights on the board. The first half then went try for try, as the halftime score would be 12-all. The Knights would cling on to a 2-point lead with 4 minutes remaining, but a deflected Mitchell Pearce kick ended up with Manly, but the left side Newcastle chasers were offside, giving Daly Cherry Evans an opportunity to tie the game.
Strikes it well, the crowd is pretty quiet.
The game went into golden point extra time, and both halves had some brilliant opportunities to steal the game, but couldn't find the mark. With just under 2 minutes remaining, Newcastle's newest halfback would step up to give the Knights the round 1 win. Number 14, the Knights versus the Dragons in 2012. The opening match of the 2012 season was highly anticipated due to the fact that Wayne Bennett had taken upon the coaching role at the Knights after his 3-year coaching stint at the Dragons. Brett Morris would score the first try, and Newcastle would hit back late in the first half thanks to a brilliant individual try from Jared Mullen, leaving the halftime score at 8-6 in favour of the Dragons. Matt Cooper would extend the lead early in the second half, but the Knights would hit back with James McManus. A Newcastle penalty goal would tie the game with 9 minutes remaining, and the score would remain the same at the end of 80 minutes. Jamie Soward would be the man to kick the match-winning field goal for the Dragons in golden point extra time.
He hits the ball! He hits the ball! He's got the ball game! The season opener has been won by the Dragons!
Number 13, the Tigers versus the Roosters in 2018. A low-scoring but good defensive match as James Tedesco would line up for the Sydney Roosters to take on his old team in the West Tigers. The Chooks also had Cooper Cronk playing his first game for the Tricolours after his long success at the Storm. A 2-0 halftime scoreline was soon levelled up by the Roosters straight out of halftime after Luke Brooks was sin binned for a professional foul. A try to Blake Ferguson in the 65th minute would give the Roosters an 8-4 lead. Then, with 3 minutes remaining, the Tigers pulled off a miracle as a pass came off the head of Michael Cheekham, which led to a Corey Thompson try in the corner, which gave Tuamola Lolohea a kick from the...
He likes it. It looks good. He's kicked it.
Number 12, the Titans versus the Tigers in 2015. After a disappointing campaign for both teams in 2014, the Titans and the Tigers were looking to start 2015 on the front foot. The Titans showed signs of that early as James Roberts crossed over to score, but the Tigers would reply with a try of their own after Ryan James got sin binned for saving a try in an offside position. James would make up for the mistake with a try just before the break to give the Titans a 12-6 lead. Pat Richards would score in the corner 10 minutes after half-time, and captain Robbie Farrow would put his side on the front foot by kicking a 40-20, which led him to setting up James Tedesco in the corner. James Roberts would cross for his second try, and Aiden Caesar would convert the try to tie the game. A Nate Miles knock-on in the final minute allowed the Tigers to make their way downfield, and Pat Richards would nail a field goal to win the game in the final 10 seconds of play.
Richards is there to win the game for the Tigers. No, they go to Brooks, back to Pat Richards. He has time, he hits the ball, and Pat Richards...
Number 11, the Titans versus the Raiders in 2018. In a high-scoring battle on the Gold Coast, the Raiders would jump out to a quick 18-0 lead in the first 10 minutes, but the Titans would eventually hit back midway through the second half to tie the game at 24-all. A Joey Leilua try with 13 minutes remaining looked to have sealed the win for the Raiders, but a brilliant Conrad Howell try with just under 2 minutes remaining would tie the game once again.
By Conrad Howell!
Ash Taylor would slot through an easy kick to give the Titans the lead for the first time in the match and eventually win the game. Number 10, the Tigers versus the Sea Eagles in 2010. It was Lottie Dakiri's first game in the NRL for 7 years as he'd line up on the wing for the Tigers as they would take on a strong Manly side. He would score the first try with his first touch of the ball down the short side from a scrum-based play. Jamie Lyon would set up 2 quick tries for Manly, a crossfield kick to Michael Robertson and a beautiful offload to Glenn Stewart to score. Big Georgie Rose would join the party and cross the line, which gave Manly a commanding 20-4 lead at half-time. It wouldn't take until the 58th minute for the Tigers to score through Blake Ashford, but that would kickstart the comeback as Liam Fulton would score only 2 minutes later. A Manly penalty goal would make it an 8-point lead, but Chris Lawrence would score with 9 minutes remaining to narrow the gap to 2. Then, shortly after, a Lottie Dakiri break would result in a Robbie Farah kick for Gareth Ellis to dive on and score the match-winning try and complete a 16-point comeback.
And gives the Tigers the lead!
Number 9, the Storm versus the Raiders in 2012. It was the previous year's minor premiers taking on the team that finished second last, with the Storm taking on the Raiders in a wet weather affair in Canberra. Melbourne's big three would combine to set up an amazing opening try for Billy Slater.
Inside ball for Billy Slater!
Cooper Cronk would score off his own kick to score Melbourne's second, but the Raiders would hit back, scoring 2 tries of their own to make the score 14-12 at half-time. A beautiful crossfield kick from Cooper Cronk would set up Justin O'Neill to score. Canberra would hit back through Glenn Buttress, which would tie the game at 18-all. An ugly-looking field goal from Josh Dugan would break the deadlock with 7 minutes remaining, but 2 minutes later, another Cooper Cronk kick found Billy Slater, where he would score his second try to win the game for the Storm. Number 8, the Tigers versus the Sharks in 2012. Back to the old stomping ground of Leichhardt Oval, where James Tedesco would make his debut for the Tigers, but unfortunately for him, he suffered from a ruptured ACL in the first half. The Tigers would open the scoring thanks to a genius kick from Benji Marshall, who found his winger Beau Ryan. Sharks hooker Isaac de Gois would hit back, but Benji would continue his brilliance, scoring a great individual try to give the Tigers a 12-4 lead at the break. Colin Best and Todd Carney would score for the Sharks, both within 7 minutes of each other, to give the Sharks the lead. With 4 minutes to go, Beau Ryan would score a spectacular try, but Benji Marshall would miss the conversion, but he would make up for it in Golden Point, where he would kick a 35-metre field goal to win the game for the Tigers.
Benji wins it for the Tigers!
Number 7, the Storm versus the Dragons in 2009. After losing the previous year's grand final to a record deficit of 40-0, the Storm were looking to start 2009 on the front foot as they come up against a very strong Dragons side, coached by Wayne Bennett for the first time. It was also the first game to have 2 on-field referees, as this was the very first game of the 2009 season. The Dragons would open the scoring with a penalty goal, but the Storm would hit back as Greg Inglis absolutely destroyed Jamie Soward to score the first try of the match. An Anthony Quinn mistake would result in a Ben Hornby try, which gave the Dragons the lead. Quinn's nightmare start would continue as he would play the ball the wrong way when Melbourne were in a good attacking position to score. The halftime score would remain 8-4 to the Dragons. Billy Slater and Cooper Cronk would score a try each to give the Storm a 16-10 lead with 15 minutes remaining. Big Wendell Saylor would produce some individual brilliance to set up Matt Cooper to score, which gave Jamie Soward a chance to tie the game in the final minute.
Jamie a chance to level it up and left the boot perfectly! Soward's level!
Greg Inglis would be the man to step up and calmly slot through a field goal to win the game for the Storm. Number 6, the Rabbitohs versus the Bulldogs in 1999. After a fairy tale finals run for the Bulldogs the previous year, they were looking to get off to a good start in 1999 against South Sydney. The game got off to a fiery start with a scuffle between the two hookers.
Canterbury side, there's drama. It's on. Yeah, Sean Garlick is underneath that. The Canterbury players reacting to what they thought was a foul.
Darren Trundle would make a break, which led to a Brett Rodwell try for the first points. A beautiful floating pass from Ricky Stewart would hit Bradley Clyde on the chest to score for the Dogs, and they'd keep up the momentum for when Steve Price made a break for Rod Silver to score and give the Dogs a 12-6 lead at half-time. The Rabbitohs would hit back through Sean Garlick, which set up a grandstand finish. Willie Talair would be sin-binned for holding back a supporting Rabbitohs player, and Craig Wing would be denied a try in the corner. But the disappointment didn't last long, as he would get a second chance in the final couple of minutes to score the match-winning try for the Bunnies.
Get to the leg! He goes in the corner!
Number 5, the Cowboys versus the Raiders in 2017. 2 top 4 sides from the previous season would square off in the opening round of 2017. The Raiders would score first in the 11th minute through Zach Santo, but the Cowboys would hit back in the 28th minute, and the scores would remain the same at half-time. A sloppy start to the second half would see debutant Nick Kotrick intercept a pass, where he was eventually chased down by Jonathan Thurston. A high shot on Lachlan Coote would escalate into a scuffle, where it looked like Joey Leilua threw a punch. He would remain on the field and end up scoring a try 3 minutes later. The Cowboys would hit back with 2 tries to take a 16-10 lead, but Joey Leilua would score his second try, which gave Aiden Caesar an opportunity to tie the game. The game would go into Golden Point extra time, where the Rugby League world witnessed one of the most unexpected Golden Point finishes.
Back to Thurston, take the snap, no! Does take the snap! It's the crossbar! It's still there! Play on! Play on! I've never seen the like that! That is amazing!
Number 4, the Roosters versus the Rabbitohs in 2011. This was the first game for Greg Inglis wearing the red and green, as the opener for the 2011 season saw 2 strong teams clash to try and start their season on the front foot. Roosters skipper Braithen Nasser would score for Mitchell Pearce kick for the first try, but South would answer quickly through John Sutton. The Chalks went bang bang with Anthony Minicello and Joey Leilua crossing the line, and Frank Paul Nuasala would cross late in the first half to give the Roosters a 22-6 lead at the break. They would increase their lead thanks to Sam Parrott catching another crossfield kick from Mitchell Pearce. Down 28-6, the Rabbitohs pulled off an unthinkable comeback, scoring 4 tries in 20 minutes to tie the game.
20 to go! 10 to go!
Chris Sando would kick a field goal in the final 7 minutes to give South the lead. After a short kick-off from the Roosters, Tom Simons would score to give the Chooks the lead once again, and he would score again shortly after to put the result beyond doubt, and the Chooks would survive a huge scare as they would win the match 40-29. Number 3, the Storm versus the Sea Eagles in 2014. Two star-studded teams would face up against each other in round 1 of the 2014 season in difficult conditions at Brookvale Oval. Manly would get off to a dream start, scoring 4 tries in the opening 20 minutes, which included Steve Maddai grabbing a double. Cesar Wonga would score Melbourne's first point shortly after to make the score 20-4 in favour of Manly at the break. Brett Stewart's night would be over after a hamstring injury, which allowed Melbourne to start a comeback, with Cesar Wonga scoring his second try, Ben Hampton and Cammy Bromwich all scoring to eventually tie the game at 20 points all. A penalty goal each would make the score 22 all at the end of 80 minutes. The golden point period saw Melbourne's star captain stand up to kick a field goal to break the hearts of Manly at Brookvale and complete a 20-point comeback win. Number 2, the Broncos versus the Cowboys in 2010. When the Broncos play the Cowboys, it's usually a pretty good match. It was no different in this 2010 opener where Willie Mason played his first game for the Cowboys and Corey Norman made his NRL debut. And what a start he had as he saved not 1 but 2 tries in the opening 15 minutes.
Norman has stopped him again!
Israel Folau would score a controversial late first try, with many claiming that Sam Thaiday had obstructed Willie Tonga.
Into Tonga. Even now, I think this will be disallowed.
It was all the Broncos for the rest of that half, as they would take a 20-0 lead at half-time. They would score first in the second half through Alex Glenn to increase their lead to 24 points. The Cowboys would miraculously come back, thanks to a sensational performance from Jonathan Thurston, as he would set up all the tries, except for the one where he scored himself to tie the game. With 6 minutes remaining, the ball found Broncos winger Denon Kemp, where he showed us his blistering speed down the right side to score the match-winning try for the Broncos. And number 1, the Rabbitohs versus the Roosters in 2012. The first of their 2 epic encounters in the 2012 season, as the Chooks and the Bunnies gave us 2 unforgettable finishes. Lama Tazi would score the first try, but Michael Crocker would score for the Bunnies to tie the game. Debutant Adam Reynolds would set up Chris McQueen for a try from a crossfield kick, and the Roosters would replicate that same play as Mitchell Pearce kicked a Boyd Cordner to score and lock the game up at 12 all. A John Sutton converted try and an Adam Reynolds penalty goal would give the Bunnies an 8-point lead. With time ticking away, Roosters front rower Jared Warrior-Hargraves crossed over with 2.5 minutes remaining, which meant the Roosters had 1 set to go the length of the field to win the game. And because they actually did it, this is, in our opinion, the best round 1 match.
With Cordner pouring down the field, he kicks, Minicello! Unbelievable! The Roosters have pulled off a miracle!
So, what did you think of our list? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below, chuck us a like on Facebook and this video, follow us on Instagram and subscribe to our channel for more Rugby League Countdowns.